You want to learn about the area's only free medical clinic and pharmacy since 1965? Stay tuned. You'll hear about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're focused on the Friendship Medical Clinic and Pharmacy and this Saturday's upcoming fundraiser. And we're visiting with the Medical Clinic and Pharmacy's director, Terri Harris.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
It is so exciting to think this Saturday you all will be kicking off at 10:30 at the Dunes Club and the luncheon. This is the second annual.
Second annual, and Foxy Lady does our fashion show for us, and we're really grateful for that. And all of their models that present the fashion show, they all volunteer their time, and they rehearse and practice practically all day on Friday before the event on Saturday. So it's a big commitment on their part, and we're very grateful for that.
And you all had it at the same location last year?
No, last year it was at the Grand Dunes Ocean Club.
Okay, sure.
So this year we have it at the Dunes Golf and Beach Club in Myrtle Beach.
You all served a lot of folks last year, Terri.
Yeah, for the first annual event, we served lunch to right at about 180-some people, which we thought was very successful since it was the very first year we had done that. Mm-hmm. And we have two fundraisers a year. One is Phantom Golf, no golf tournament. We do that one in August, and we're really grateful for the Sun News because they donate and give us a lot of space in their newspaper for that event. And then our second fundraiser is this Diamonds and Champagne. And we actually give away a free half-carat diamond. We sell champagne glasses, and people win the chance to get this diamond. The glasses are $20 each, and you get your glass of champagne. And there's a CZ, cubic zirconia, tied in a pink netting on the stem of each champagne glass. But one of the glasses has an actual half-carat in it.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's kind of a different take on encouraging people to donate money.
Absolutely. Great thinking.
Yeah,
Very
so
definitely.
They get a little bit of something for their donation.
Kick off the weekend or to celebrate Saturday morning and early
Absolutely.
afternoon.
The glass of champagne.
Good thinking. A lot mimosas oftentimes folks will kick off, but you've got the real thing. The real thing. What about, let's talk real quick about yourself, Terri, before we focus on the clinic and, of course, this Saturday's event. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm originally from West Virginia and graduated from WVU in Morgantown, West Virginia. And after I graduated, I had an undergraduate degree in journalism. And I got a job with John Deere auditing contracts. Not that that had anything to do with journalism, but you take what's available. And then later I came to Myrtle Beach, and I worked at Coast Magazine for a while. I was a photographer at Sun News newspaper. I did some moonlighting with Polly Loman at North Myrtle Beach Times in photography. During that period, I also got a master's degree from USC. And then, at the time I was married, my husband and I, we started weekly newspapers. And for people who have been here quite a while, they were, it was the Horry News and Shopper. And then a little year or so later, we had Georgetown News and Shopper, Williamsburg County News and Shopper. And we also had a printing company. It was a web press newspaper printing press. So we printed other people's papers, school papers, and things like that.
And when you say web press, what exactly, for a viewer who may not be familiar with that terminology, what exactly does that mean?
It's a newspaper printing press.
Okay.
Whereas most of the printing companies, they're sheet-fed, so they do brochures, stationery, business cards, those kinds of things.
So this prints a big broadsheet, that huge thing.
That's the deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Is that still here in the area?
We had it for about 8 years. And we sold the newspapers, and then later, actually, we sold the printing press, and it was a Goss printing press, and it was shipped to Iraq.
Iraq?
Yeah. Back in the day. Yeah.
I wonder what they're using it for now.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
An interesting thought.
But track that down. How exciting. So, and now that master's degree, was that in journalism?
No, it was in education.
Okay, sure. So you knew at some point you would leave the journalism field, of course, starting with John Deere, auditing contracts, and then moving into journalism or into photography, and then into education. You had a lot, your hand, and of course, having the News and Shopper in multiple counties. You learned a lot of stuff there, Terri.
We did. I learned a lot. I learned, I guess, how to run a business, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It was a learning experience. I don't think you do anything that you don't learn something that then you use someplace else, which has really helped me in this job. I mean, after running one business, then the mechanics of it are pretty much the same. I mean, certain things. So, yeah, but this job has probably been one of the most fulfilling I've ever had.
How long have you been at the Friendship Medical Clinic and Pharmacy?
I will have only been there 2 years, the end of July, so not very long.
Right. Real quick, did you get involved after you got that master's in education? Did you get into, let's say, teaching on the college level or teaching locally?
No, I did a little bit locally at Myrtle Beach High School for a number of years. And then after we'd sold, well, I got my degree kind of in the middle of about the time we started the newspapers. And the plan was I was going to help my husband get these newspapers started, and then I was going to go into teaching.
Right.
And it never happened. I just stayed with the newspapers.
Stayed with the newspapers, yeah. Well, weekly newspapers.
So I did tutoring and things.
Sure. And News and Shoppers. And of course, there's a News and Shopper. I think the Orient Independent has something now.
Yes, they do.
I don't know if there are many others in the county, but it's...
I don't know. At the time that we started ours, it was kind of a new animal. We had a lot of news in ours, and it was all carrier delivered. We carrier delivered it to every household in Horry County, which at the time was about 30,000 homes we delivered to. And then after a few years, we put it all on mail. So we did mail, and then the paper in Williamsburg County and Georgetown County were all mail as well.
Terri, that segues so well into the aspect. There's so many community newspapers in the area that serve so many different communities. It's incredible.
Absolutely, and I think part of it is there are so many nonprofit organizations and just a willingness of people to be involved in the community. So I think there's a lot of news out there to report. I've never been in an area, well, I've spent most of my life in this area, my adult life, but I would think it would be very hard to find another area anywhere that has more community support of people helping one another than what you can find in Horry County. I mean, there's just an awful lot of organizations here, and there's just a real willingness of people who live here to help others. And I don't know if part of that is because there's so many people that come in here from other areas, so they bring their talents, they want to meet new people, and a lot of times if they're coming down here, either they're semi-retiring or whatever, I think they have more time and they want to give back, or they want to be a part of their community, and that's a way to become a part of the community, is to be out there doing things and helping others. And so I think it's a very interesting community to live in. And
as you point out, there's still a lot of news within each small community.
Absolutely. Because I think every tiny community has a lot of nonprofit things going on, or just community events.
And really, whatever's happened within a nonprofit is news for that community. And of course, oftentimes the not-for-profits serve such a large area outside of an individualized area. Of course, you know the bulk of our viewers are in the PD and southeastern North Carolina, and so there's a heck of a lot of community events going on within those areas. Are there free medical clinics and pharmacies within other parts of the state, or is the Friendship Medical Clinic and Pharmacy the only one in the state?
Actually, we are the oldest free clinic in the state of South Carolina, and it began in 1965 through the efforts of a teacher at Myrtle Beach High School with a group of 10th graders, and she was just trying, it was in the middle of the racial unrest, so she was trying to get kids to see beyond color. So these students would go into some of the poorer areas in Myrtle Beach. They would screen and interview people who needed medical care, and then the local doctors that were here at that time, which there weren't that many, but they would agree to see these patients. So they were issued a card, an identification card, and then at that point, a lot of the kids would do fundraisers to raise money, and the medications came from Eckerd Drug Store, which at that time was at Studebaker's, which is now Studebaker's on 21st Avenue North. So they would give medications at discount prices and things like that. So that's how the nucleus of it, I mean, that's how it began. And then it's just evolved through the years. And a few years after that, the preschool, there was a Head Start program which closed down. So a preschool program became incorporated, and they worked together.
Right.
And actually the preschool, it's Friendship House Preschool, which is still functioning. And For a number of years, they operated together, the medical clinic and the preschool, but now they're totally separate. And the preschool is still on Canal Street,
Right.
and then the medical clinic, we are on Highway 544.
Okay.
And they became incorporated in 1976. And we were one of the, or no, I'm sorry, in 1968 it became incorporated. And then when United Way came into this area, the medical clinic was probably one of the first, it was one of the first organizations they funded and raised money for. They came in the area in 1973.
United Way did.
Yes, and then they dispersed funds that they fundraised in 1974, and a substantial amount of our money comes from United Way. If it was not for United Way, there probably would not be a free medical clinic.
Is that right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I can't say enough about United Way. They support so many nonprofit organizations here in Horry County, and they spend an awful lot of time and effort collecting money, raising money, and giving it right back to us. So I would just encourage everybody to support United Way.
How invaluable.
Absolutely, they are.
Very definitely. You think about all those aspects. Of course, y'all's location there on 544 is such a principal location, tying the South Strand of the South Strand of Horry County together with the county seat, and really Myrtle Beach is so well with the county seat.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of our patients come on the limo bus. So, matter of fact, now that we're on this particular location, we're trying to get a little better bus service than what we've been able to offer before. But, yeah, a certain number of our patients rely on that to get to us.
Who qualifies for the services of the medical clinic and pharmacy, Terry?
Well, the clinic provides basic primary medical care for low-income and indigent adults in Horry County. And we also have a state-licensed pharmacy. So we get the majority of our medications through patient assistance programs. And last year we had probably over $900,000 at the retail value in medications that we dispersed.
Come on.
Yeah, absolutely, $900,000.
Wow,
plus.
that's spectacular.
That's spectacular. And it's all done strictly with volunteers. There's only 3 paid staff, myself and 2 others. Pam Edmondson, who's our pharmacy coordinator. She lives in Conway. And Martha Amundsen is our clinic coordinator. And then every other person that walks in that door is a volunteer. And without the volunteers, just as with United Way, there would not be a clinic. Every doctor, every nurse, the clerical help, they're all volunteers. And Patty Gresco is our pharmacist in charge, and she's a volunteer. But it's her name that's on the dotted line when it comes to being responsible for the pharmacy.
Golly, and Patty puts in a ton of hours.
Yes, she does.
She's an amazing volunteer, but all of your volunteers are amazing. I mean,
They
you've
are.
got to
They're-
have them to run.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, every day when I get up and go to work in the morning, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky I get to go over here and work. Because the people that come in, the volunteers that come in, I mean, they want to be there. And it's just a great bunch of people. And I think a lot of the nonprofits are like that. But a lot of times I think when people think that if you're coming to a free clinic, you have to either really be down on your luck or, you know, you're not working and you're not producing. And I have to say probably the majority of our patients, they're working, they just do not have access to medical insurance and they can't afford medical insurance. And we also have a number of patients who you just never know when you wake up one morning what's going to happen in your life. And we have, like I say, a number of patients who were out here working in the community and things happen. There was, we have one patient who was a business owner, owned his own restaurant, had insurance, was active in the community, volunteered, and his wife got cancer and totally maxed out the medical insurance. And she died within a couple of years. In the middle of all of that, their son was killed in a car wreck. And so he ended up losing his business, plus had no medical insurance, and then he developed some medical problems. So suddenly he's a patient here at our clinic. And then one of our volunteers, he's retired now, he volunteers, and part of the reason he volunteers at our clinic is when he was a young man, he was working, he had medical insurance, he had to have surgery, and there was complications during the surgery, so he ended up having to have 4 more surgeries, stayed in the hospital 6 or 7 months, and when he got out, the particular medical insurance he had, the maximum payout in any 1 year was $80,000. So he ended up having to declare bankruptcy. And, you know, he was young enough he could start over, and he did, and, you know, had a successful life and whatever. But just, you never know when things are going to happen in medical. So it's not just you have a clinic here that just serves people who aren't working and those kinds of things.
Do you ever have room for more volunteers, Terri? You're all pretty well maxed out.
No, we are never maxed out except on patients. I definitely need more volunteer nurses.
More volunteer nurses?
Absolutely. We probably have 70 to 80 volunteers that keep this clinic going.
70 to 80
volunteers? Because some of our volunteers, they'll come in maybe once a week for a couple of hours. Some volunteers come in maybe 2 or 3 times a month for a couple of hours. So it's, in whatever they want to do, we find, we try and let every volunteer kind of pick and choose what they, you know, what they're interested in doing. And I have probably 30 or 40 names of nurses to telephone, but a lot of them, they work 12-hour shifts, so, and then if they have a day off, you know, they want to spend it with their families. So it's difficult to, you know, a lot of them are willing, but it's just with their hours, and they're a lot of times having to take continuing education courses. So, but I definitely need more volunteer nurses.
If a viewer is not a nurse but they wanted to volunteer, what's the best number, or if they are a nurse, what's the best number to get in touch with you?
347-7199.
The 843-347-7199. Of course, again, the facility is located on 544. There are other locations within the community, if they couldn't travel that far, that they could be of some assistance. I mean, are there things they could do, maybe help to get the word out, going out?
Oh, absolutely. If you know people who would like to volunteer, yeah, just have them call us. I mean, that's the only location we have is the 544 location. And when a nurse comes in, we need them for probably about a 2-hour period of time. So it's not like a whole half a day or anything like that. Once the doctors schedule and tell me when they can come in and do a clinic, then I get on the telephone and just keep calling until I can find a volunteer nurse who's available.
Wow.
And so it's about a 2-hour period of time. I mean, and then they add on their travel time to get there, their travel time to get back home, but actual time spent in the clinic's 2.5 hours.
So a lot of your time, Terri, during the day is help trying to orchestrate. I know you've got a clinic director and a pharmacy director, but at the same time, a lot of your time is involved trying to get folks out there to man the 70 to 80 volunteers to be there.
Absolutely, keep it all coordinated.
Right, right.
And then the other thing that we just spend a huge amount of time on is for every single patient that we have to fill out financial paperwork to supply to the pharmaceutical companies. We get our medications through patient assistance programs, but the paperwork is just really intensive to get those medications. So that's how we operate, and that's how we provide medications.
Well, what are some of the problems that are solved by having the clinic and pharmacy?
Well, exactly. We provide, by providing basic primary care, if you can keep people healthy, then you can keep them working. And probably a full 1/3 of our patients are diabetic, which everybody's read about the increase of diabetes in this country. And like I say, probably 1/3 of our patients are diabetic. So if you can keep them on their medications, they're not losing eyesight, they're not losing limbs. I mean, it's just a constant education as we do video films and try and educate people on how to take care of themselves if they have diabetes. But if we are there as a clinic, then you're going to keep people out of the emergency rooms of hospitals. Otherwise, when they get sick, they just show up at an ER. So then you have patients, people who are coming to the ER who do have medical insurance, and the ER rooms are crowded with people who don't have medical insurance who are just showing up because they need medical attention.
Right.
So, and if you can, so that's one benefit for it. And like I say, keeping people healthy, you're keeping people in the workforce so they're not drawing unemployment, which we all pay for with our tax dollars. Plus, you're keeping your community healthy.
Right.
So.
Terri, how many patients you all seen on a regular year? Let's say 2002 or 2003.
We probably have anywhere from 1,200 to 1,400 encounters of people coming in and out.
Is that right?
And then we try to, the patients that we have, we try to, like I say, just maintain them on their medication, and then they see a doctor like once or twice a year. We do One of our big expenses is LabCorp. We send all of our patients to LabCorp for blood work and things like that. So we do get a discount, but we have to pay for all that. And then I can't say enough about the doctors in Horry County. Well, it's like anything else. You're going to have some people that just not into giving or whatever. But we have so many doctors. We have about 13 or 14 who volunteer at our clinic. But then outside of that, as I said, we provide basic primary care. So when you have patients that need a specialist, we just get on the telephone and call and beg. And we have some doctors that are just so go beyond being generous. Because sometimes we laugh about a few and we think, God, there must be 25% of their business, of their billing is probably lost to seeing free patients that can't pay. I had one doctor last year who did surgery on one of our patients, and it was like $12,000 and some dollars, and he wrote it off. This person just had nothing. So I have to say an awful lot of doctors in Horry County are very, very generous in what they're willing to give.
We've got 4 or 5 minutes. I really want to focus on this Saturday's event.
Thank you.
If a viewer was to come out there to the Dunes Club, they need to be there by 10:30.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Okay, well, hopefully they're going to buy a glass of champagne for $20.
Yeah.
And stand a chance of winning a half-carat diamond walking away. We have a jeweler there who looks at everybody's stone and evaluates, and we announce who has the actual half-carat diamond. We also have exhibitors. We have, if a business wants to advertise their business, we provide tables, 6 to 8 foot tables. They're $175 each. I have like a travel agency. I have skincare people. I have some bankers who do investing for women. I have an appliance store that has different type of appliances. So it's also spaces for exhibitors. So when people come, there's different tables to look at and see merchandise. We also have several silent auction items. I have someone who's generous enough to donate. We have 5 or 6 kind of high-dollar ticket items. We have somebody that donated a house that's in Merle's Inlet for either a Saturday to Saturday or 2 long weekends. And I have another person who put up as a silent auction item a 4-bedroom house that's ocean front in the North Myrtle Beach area. And we have a chef who would come in and prepare dinner in your home. So
Great.
That's been donated. Yeah.
Good.
And then one of Loring Ross, orthodontist here in Myrtle Beach, has donated $1,000 worth of service for braces.
Yeah.
Word braces.
Well, folks
So
need that.
yeah, so we have several really nice silent auction items, and then we have some night door prizes. And the way we do our door prizes, rather than just buying a ticket, you have to have something creative in your pocketbook. So somebody may say, okay, the person that can come up here first that has dental floss in their pocketbook is going to get this next door prize. So it's really a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that last year.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
So yeah, it's and then like I say, Foxy Lady does a fashion show, which it's more like a performance. It's not your typical fashion show. They have music and lights, and it's just a really fun way to spend a Saturday morning.
So it kicks off at 10:30, and then a luncheon served at?
Luncheon served probably around 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And the tickets are $40, and tickets can be bought at either of the Foxy Lady locations. She's located, one location is Colonial Mall, and then Foxy Lady at Rainbow Harbor, Foxy Lady in Pawleys Island, and then Premier Travel and Tours is in Pawleys Island. You can buy tickets there, or Conway Chamber of Commerce also has tickets.
Could they also call you for tickets?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
They can call us, 347-7199, and we have tickets available if they want to come to 544. But those other 5 locations, Conway Chamber of Commerce, Premier Travels and Tours, and then Foxy Ladies.
And they really need to call quick. It's for the next few days. We're leading up to this Saturday. Yeah,
ticket sales have really been well. They've done really good. We have probably enough seating for about 225, 240 people.
Okay.
So
if a viewer knew somebody wanted to even buy a table, there's an opportunity to buy a sponsored tables.
They can sponsor tables. Sponsored tables are $500 each, and then the business is given 10 tickets. And then we have a marquee. We list our sponsors' names. and then another marquee where we also list all of our exhibitors. So that's those two things, the exhibitors or a $500 sponsor table.
Okay. Lastly, Terri, we talked about the critical needs of the medical clinic and the pharmacy, and of course you talked about volunteer nurses are needed and needs for volunteers in general. If you really wanted to step out and get involved and they weren't a nurse but wanted to volunteer or wanted to make a donation, what's the most pressing need that it's going to touch directly?
Well, we rely, like I say, United Way is one of our biggest contributors. And other than that, we rely on the generosity of either civic groups, hospitals. We get donations from people, whether they donate $50, $100. Sometimes we'll get a check for more than that. But if everybody would contribute something, then we would have enough money. So it's not like I'm out there looking for one person to give me several $1,000s. It's just if a lot of people would give a few hundred, right. I mean, it adds up and goes a long way. But like I say, with LabCorp, the medicines we cannot get through the pharmaceutical programs, we have to buy. Then the doctors that do outside work for us, we like to pay them something when we can. So,
Terri, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Terri Harris coming up next. The event's the second annual Diamonds and Champagne Luncheon. The place is the Dunes Club, 9000 North Ocean Boulevard. The date is this Saturday. Get out there at 10:30. The luncheon kicks off at noon. The fashion show that Foxy Ladies put a lot of time into it. All the volunteer models. The Friendship Medical Clinic and Pharmacy needs your help. Give them a call at 843-347-7199.